There was a crooked man, and he talked a crooked cast. The crooked man hit record and sang his crooked song, and thus his crooked show spiraled into crooked hell. He should have made a crooked Patreon to support his crooked ways. A crooked click to patreon.com/WassessCast Productions would go a crooked mile. That's crooked content, crooked access, and crooked episodes just for you. Patreon.com/WassessCast Productions. Only a crooked man would miss out on such a crooked deal.
Names are power, and we have a book full of them. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast that will use our yellow pages for personal gain. Look out, Mr. Aronson. We're coming for you. I'm your host, Aaron Waseska, and joining me today is Ryan Meddingham.
Yet again, hello and welcome.
Indeed. You can follow, again, Lavender Town, our intro song for the week. One of the versions, go ahead and just figure it out. It links down below. You can also follow us on Patreon, YouTube, Pippa, iTunes, Apple Podcast. I haven't done that in a while.
Every time.
Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict. You can also find us on social media, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us there. You can message us. You can tell me to stop saying iTunes. Trust me, I know. I do it all the time. Ryan, if they want to email us, what can they email us at?
They can email us at a much better story pacing at excuse me, sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
Indeed. Ryan, are you ready for this week's movie?
I am indeed. Actually, this one was a lot of fun.
Oh, really? All right. Let's see. I'm looking up something here real quick for this episode because I fucking forgot to do something. And, okay, yeah, there's not much for it. I'll just have it ready to go. This week's song, this week's episode, The Hauntings continue with 2016's The Conjuring 2. Written by Chad Hayes, Carrie W. Hayes, James Wan, and David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. How many fucking names do you have to have?
So many names.
And directed by James Wan. The film would go to gross a total of $320 million, which is roughly 8 times what it cost. Still pretty good.
It costs money to fly out to England to do this shit.
A little bit. It's fine. The cast includes Bonnie Aarons, Bob Adrian, Simon Delaney, Maria Doyle Kennedy. I don't know why I couldn't say that. I don't know.
Maria.
Simon McBurney, Patrick McAuley, Benjamin McDonald, no, I'm kidding. Benjamin Hay, Lauren Esposito, Francis O'Connor, Madison Wolfe, Patrick Wilson, and a lady who will likely make several more appearances for the Terror Time, Vera Farmiga.
Sorry.
The awards I didn't write down, but I have them on IMDb. These include, let me see if I can find some winners here, an ASCAP award for Top Box Office Films. Scrolling down some more here, Golden Trailer Award for Best Horror TV Spot. That's an award. That's something you can win. An iHorror Award for Best Horror Remake or Sequel. And Best Horror Director. I don't know what iHorror is, honestly. So
it's internet horror, duh.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Apple Horror.
Well played, sir. Well played.
I mean, what else could it be, honestly? Yeah, not a lot of awards for this one, which is kind of a shame, but we'll move on to some fun facts. Ryan, I bet you have some fun facts for me.
Indeed, I do have 3. Some people have claimed that the real Janet Hodgson is actually just a gifted ventriloquist, or even has the power to manipulate voices, and she admitted to faking some of the events. She revealed around 2% of the haunting was phony in an interview with The Telegraph, which I thought they handled in the movie pretty well, but we'll get to that in a minute. Next up, Even though it features in the opening scene, the demonic entity that takes on the form of the nun has nothing to do with Amityville. According to director James Wan, Lorraine is just having a psychic premonition about what happens in England.
And it stays in England.
Yeah, and stays in England. Luckily. All scenes featuring the nun were added during reshoots, replacing the original design of a dark demon with horns. This happened because Wan wished to expand the story of Lorraine Warren having her faith questioned. Therefore, he designed the demon to resemble a holy icon. The original design can be seen at the end of the climax when the demon is defeated.
Cool.
Yeah, I really like the subplot of her fate being called into question. And the spooky fucking nun was well done. So kudos to you, Mr. Wan. Kudos. Now, last up, the Society of Psychological Research. Is it psychological or psychical? What?
Psychical, I guess.
Psychical? Jesus Christ. All right, the Society of Psychic Research, sure, in England, researched this case long before the Warrens, and it was determined as a recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. Gross and Playfair moved into the house at one point and investigated the case for over a year. The Warrens showed up and only stayed for a couple of days. Like Americans, they come in, they take the credit, and they leave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just like World War II. Well, actually, we sort of did help end World War II, so that's not the point. The point is, it's very much an American way to do things.
All right, sir. So what are your initial thoughts with the movie?
I think the film is really good. I think it's got a lot of interesting ideas. I think, like you said, a lot of stuff really clicks, really works. I don't think it's quite as memorable to me as the predecessor, but I appreciate the twist it throws out. There's actually a really big twist leading into Act 3 that I really love them a lot. And I really think it helps the movie stand out quite a bit.
Okay. Well, I want to say, as a whole, I think I enjoyed this movie better than its predecessor. And I know that's kind of blasphemy with sequels, but I feel like the main gripe that I had in terms of pacing was really addressed in the sequel. So while it didn't have as many like stark, memorable moments as the original one, I think overall, as a whole, as an entire movie, it's better put together, and the story keeps you engaged for the entirety of the duration, as opposed to just the back half.
Indeed. Well, we have a synopsis here for you, Ryan. Are you ready for this?
Yay! I am.
We return to the wacky adventures of Ed and Lorraine Warren. In tonight's episode, the two are called up to merry old England for a spin around the gaff, but things aren't all tea and biscuits when a couple of cheeky blighters get themselves into a spooky pickle.
Wow.
Seems a wee little wanker has gone and called up and pissed off a ghost in her home. She tried calling for her dad, but this spooky tosser decides to see a man about a dog for about an hour of film. Rubbish is what this is. Rubbish, I say.
Oh my god.
The Warrens arrive and the home is in shambles. Water everywhere, crosses over every wall. None of it is helping this for a growing child and her imaginary ghost friend. So Ed and Lorraine conduct some tests to see if they can figure out what's happening. After a couple of days of investigation, they are left to determine the little girl is faking everything, despite what several unbiased witnesses have claimed they've seen. Why? Because the girl who claims to be possessed was throwing dishes and shit of her own accord and is caught on camera. So everyone leaves the family and they think it's all oval. But Ed drops his tapes and experiences one of those eureka cliches where something totally happenstance inspires him to do something that feels like reaching for a conclusion to the plot. The spirit possesses the girl calling out to them, and sorry, let me read that. The spirit possessing the girl was calling out to them, but in broken up speech that only makes sense when playing two different recordings together at the same time from the right place in the recordings. I told you, it's kind of coincidental.
Yeah.
Furthermore, Lorraine, who has been having her own Spider-Man 2 arc in this film, suddenly gets her faith and powers back, clairvoyance back. She speaks to the spooky tosser, who reveals he's been a patsy for an even bigger ghost. Think Zant and Ganondorf, or Vati and Ganondorf, or that wizard guy you don't remember the name of in Link to the Past, Ganondorf. What I'm saying, our villain of the week this week is basically Ganondorf. Ed and Lorraine return to the Enfield house to face off against Ganondorf and save the little girl. Ed's Triforce of Courage guides him through the home, even though he's blinded by steam. Lorraine's Triforce of Wisdom grants her the insight to discover the weakness of the demon. Its name. Fuck, that seems like a really shitty weakness. I thought green glowing space rocks was lame, but geez, this is the pits. She shouts at the Ganondorf, who gets spooked by hearing his own name and is banished to the Twilight Realm or some such. The family is saved, and Ed and Lorraine have a renewed passion for their work. Certainly enough to milk at least one more sequel out of this franchise.
At least.
Ryan, what do you think of Legend of Zelda and The Conjuring 2?
Oh my god. So yeah, like I said, overall, I think, like, as a movie, I felt like it was more put together, but you're right, the ending did definitely feel like it was reaching. It kind of feels like, especially with the ending of the first movie, all you really need to do to do an exorcism is have a specific Bible with the passage in Latin that you need to be shouting at it to hold it down, and then know the demon's name so that you can banish it. Because that's exactly what happened in the first movie.
I'm trying to think of... I don't know any Latin phrases, but I want to say something about Bezos. Bezos, I banish you to hell.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? Shout out to Bezos. He's actually doing some kind of positive things in all this race nonsense. He's one of the better people out there right now. Not good, not great, just better than the average.
Yeah. It's all fucking goobly gobbly. I'd rather deal with the exorcisms.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
At least, a demon would be affected by the power of my words, and it would get out when I told them to leave. Anyway, did you have some discussion questions for me today?
I have got several. Ryan, why do ghosts seem to always, possess poor people?
Well, I actually like how they break it down in the first movie, whereas, like, their objective is to get you to a mentally and emotionally weak place so that they can actually take over and, like, live through you. So kind of like kicking people while they're down, it makes the most sense to kind of jump on these families that are in tough times. When you have a dad that's driving to Florida and, like, gone for, like, weeks at a time, or a dad that is just fucking gone because he's an asshole. It makes sense that it's the families that are really hard, like that are really having a hard time of it, that's more susceptible to it.
Okay, I hear you, but here's my thing. I'm a demon, for example, in this scenario. What is my goal? What is my accomplishment? To get souls, right? Is that what the goal is for these demons? Just to get souls, basically?
I think it's to spread misery because they feed off that, and they're strengthened by misery.
So then let me point this out to them then. For any demon listening, because I'm sure someone's listening. This is going on a weird tangent I wasn't planning on. Listen here, demons. Okay, listen. Yes, you can possess someone in poverty. You can possess someone of a low-income family. That's small potatoes, okay? You're not going to get a lot of misery out of that. They're already miserable, sure. You're going to get some of that, sure. But consider this. You could possess someone with wealth, someone with power, someone in charge of, like, a corporation or something. They make hundreds of people miserable every day for those people's lives. How much misery can you feed off on that? It's like a buffet for you. I'm saying stop targeting the poor and start going after rich people. That's what I'm saying.
But rich people then target the poor, so then what?
But then you get more. Then you get more misery.
So you're just a proponent for more misery, is what I'm hearing, Aaron. It sounded like you were white knighting for the poor people, but it's just going to be trickle down haunting. What the fuck?
I'm saying they could be more efficient. And Ryan, for demons, if you're listening, you can stop listening now. Ryan, what I'm really trying to get at is they can't possess people who are happy. And rich people apparently are happy. So if we make them go on this wild goose chase, I have saved the poor and made the rich maybe miserable for a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure rich people are super miserable just about different things, but
Maybe. Demons, you can listen again, okay? You can ignore that middle part there. Just ignore
uh,
that. Just ignore it. um, Ryan, does this film feel as scary as the first one? Why or why not?
no, and that's why I like it more.
Okay. Do
I
tell.
mean,
Do tell.
so I think it's a little more explicit in terms of the haunting and like it definitely has the jump scares. It definitely has those long, drawn out, quiet moments, like lingering in dark corners just to let your imagination fucking do backflips on itself. But I think what it does, it takes out like some of that runtime that the first one had that was devoted solely to like amping you up, and instead gives the haunted family a bit of a storyline because you see them like in a situation and their situation is developing and growing, but you also give Ed and Lorraine something to narratively do earlier in the movie because they're also dealing with their own shit. So the plot is constantly moving rather than just sitting and stewing in its own tension. So I think that might be why it feels a little less scary. Aside from the contrived ending, I think that's one of the reasons why it feels a little less scary and why I like it a little more.
Okay.
Of course, remember, I am a bit of a punk, so me liking a scary movie because it's not as scary, is par for the course for me.
Okay.
Your mileage may vary.
Well, and again, going back to what we were saying earlier, you appreciate Haunting Hill House because it didn't focus on explicitly scaring you. It focused more on building character in a world and building up to a big scare or two near the end.
Yeah, it told a scary story. Like I'm really in like I'll sit through the scares if there's a good story in it. If you're just scaring me, then what the fuck am I watching you for?
I think the difference here we could see would be like comparing a roller coaster to an actual like ride, like one of those rides at at the big parks that like it's not really a roller coaster, but it does like carry you on a track and tells you a story as you're going through it. I know that I don't remember what they're called, but they have something like that. That's what I'm thinking the difference is here. One's actually trying to have fun and thrills. The other one is more, subdued, trying to tell you a story that might be a little bit more. It might be scary at points, but it's more about the story than anything else. So, for me, I also don't agree. I also agree this isn't as scary. I think because not so much because it isn't trying to be scary, but I think it's doing goofier things than the first one did. The crooked man becoming a thing, a little goofy.
Yeah.
The furniture and chairs moving by themselves in the way they did. Like, when the cops were over and the chair just pushed itself back in the table, that's a bit goofy.
That was hilarious. Oh my god. As soon as that happens and it cuts to, well, there's not much we can do about that.
And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it doesn't feel scary to me. But it's still fun, I guess is a way to put it. Yeah, I think it's definitely got a good story. I think it's telling a good story. I think it's fun. Like I said, I just don't think it's got the same teeth as the first one does, which isn't bad unless that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I'm still thinking about the cops noping the fuck out of there. That's just amazing to me. Like I can't arrest a ghost. I'm sorry. This is beyond me. But no, I do think that this one has less of a bite to it as well. It does, like, I think as a horror film in general, it's probably less of a successor to the original. I feel like it's a little more. It might have been a little more sensationalized in terms of the movie. It was like doing a bit more, like more of the cheesy stuff with the constant visions that Ed is going to die. That goodbye with the door blocking them because he has to go off and help this little girl despite the fact that he just might die, and just his wife like tearfully calling for him to come back. It was getting a little cliche in points.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it. but I definitely think it's a little more watered down than its predecessor.
And that third act really doesn't work very well. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's very clunky.
Very much so.
I'm really hoping the third movie does not escalate it further and it's like, okay, Ed and Lorraine saved the world from ghosts. Like, no, guys, these are intimate, small, haunting stories. Let's not do a save the world thing, please.
Apparently, the subtitle for the third one is "The Devil Made Me Do It." So take of that which you will.
I mean, I'm just expecting them to go help Bart Simpson. That's all it is. Ryan.
Heal. Is this where Bart becomes a faith healer?
Oh man, that was a good episode. Okay, so the big difference this film has over other haunting films is its second act twist, where it appears Janet is making everything up. What do you feel about this scene?
I thought like it's definitely an interesting premise because like one of the subplots that Ed and Lorraine are really dealing with is the skepticism that they deal with is taking a much more like a much bigger role in their story, where they even have a skeptic with them and like they actually like seemingly figure it out. But like where Lorraine's story arc is supposed to be like her like have it like almost losing her faith, it feels to me just kind of like it's more of losing faith in like the work that they're doing rather than just in religion or in God, because a lot of like pretty much everything up until the beginning of the third act could be plausibly denied. In terms of like the little girl only being able to do her demonic thing when nobody was looking was a big one, and of course her getting filmed throwing everything around was a big one. Although how was a 12-year-old girl gonna like really throw that fucking table across the room? That one made no sense to me.
Well, then, and after all that too, they found her in that one little closet with all the pipes and shit, like all arranged weird. Like, how do you get that and not assume it's a paranormal thing?
Yeah. Or the fact that she fucking teleported into a locked room. I was just like, that's inexplicable, guys. Like, that should be enough.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think it's that Ed and Lorraine didn't believe them, but more just that evidence alone would have prevented them from being able to do anything through the church.
I definitely understood that. And it was interesting that Lorraine couldn't sense anything. Like that was really the big thing that was speaking against it, because like they see this family in need, they definitely want to help, and they definitely see the pain that they're in, but all of the coincidental circumstances that are happening and the fact that Lorraine, who's like the best fucking clairvoyant, can't sense anything demonic around. Where in the first movie, as soon as she got there, she was like, oh shit, this is bad. Oh no. Oh no, yeah, you guys are getting possessed. This isn't great. So I think it was definitely interesting to kind of throw that doubt in the midst of it. And then like the twist that it's actually the demon that she had seen ahead of time and that's been kind of fucking with her all this time. I liked it and I didn't, because it feels contrived, but it also it feels contrived, but it also is interesting that there was a demon that was clever enough to use human perception against them to kind of make them think that it was a hoax. So it was an interesting way to go about it. I just don't think it was executed as well as it could.
No, I agree. I like we said already, the third act it stumbles a bit. And, I really liked the initial twist where Janet's revealed to be faking it, even though we know that she's being told to fake it. The idea that Ed and Lorraine get called onto hoaxes like that every so often, I like seeing that. And I guess it's gonna sound horrible, but I like seeing characters fail. And it's not so much like I want them to fail, but more like I like to see how they handle failure and how they overcome it. And it's an interesting thing to see in this situation like this, where it's like, oh, the ghost isn't real, we've wasted our time, let's move on, or something like that. And it makes you think, oh, they've just got a Scooby-Doo case where they just pull the mask off and it's Old Man Jenkins, essentially.
Yeah.
But, no, I definitely like where it was going. And then the third act, like I said, it brings in the other demon, does all this other stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is a little extra. This is a little more than what I was actually wanting. Had it just ended right then and there, I actually probably would have appreciated that a lot more. I know it sounds anticlimactic, but just seeing them go through this and kind of, questioning whether or not what they're doing is right, and then maybe reverting all that back in the sequel would have been pretty cool.
Like, I don't know. Like, I think if they ended up leaving and then, like, the family actually gets killed, and then they find out that they just got fucking hoodwinked by a demon, that would have been a very interesting ending, and it would have set up for a recurring like they gotta clash with the nun again to finally fucking banish this thing because now they have a family to avenge. Like, that would have been interesting. That definitely would have been interesting. And I think now that we're talking about it, the reason why I wasn't as hooked on the demon this time around is because you spend 90% of the movie not knowing who the real enemy is, and then at the very end it's like, oh, the enemy is actually just a really powerful and clever demon that was able to lie to you this entire time. Like, that's cool. Yeah. Like, it's like, that's cool, but you give me no time to sit with the fact that we have to fight this demon, or like them to like actually do any research on it. It's just like, oh, nope, you were wrong, and now you have to fight this super demon, go. As opposed to the witch, they're able to find out like all of these things about her and like why she's as formidable, and then like the movie itself is like a battle against that spirit. Like, you get more encounters where they're like actually trying to pit their wills against the witch. So it felt more earned when they were actually able to exercise it.
And that brings me to a question I have down here a little bit. Leading up to the film, leading up to the Warren's involvement, you could see the demon's name in multiple locations in the Warren household. Why is a demon, whose only weakness is his name, giving Lorraine his name?
I don't fucking know. That's a damn good question.
Because not only is it in the dream / her slashing it up in her book, but there's a scene I noticed, and if you look very quick, if you ever look back at it, when she's actually having the dream, you can see the bookcase. The book ends all are the Valak name.
Really?
Yep. I had to rewind it to show Amanda, and she's like, "Oh shit! I didn't realize that." I'm like, "Yep, I just saw that. I cinema sins that super hard."
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know why.
And I'm like, your only weakness is this. It'd be like if Superman gave Lex Luthor the kryptonite, saying, "Okay, Lex, here you go. I'll see you in a few hours."
Yeah, it's like Lex is like, "How do I beat you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you just grabbed this thing called kryptonite. It actually really sucks for me.
Here you go. It's the whole back of it." Don't take it out of that back, though. It's lead lined.
I get that for the like for the audience, it pays off because you don't actually know that he's giving her the name, and you don't actually know that she's like scratching it in her Bible. It just looks like she's having a clash with the demon, and the demon is trying to destroy the Bible that she's reading. So it's like, in the moment, that really that plays off well, and like her like having to work it back and actually figure that out is cool. But you're right, then you're left with the original problem of, why the fuck did it give her his name if that's literally the only thing she needs to banish him?
Yeah, it's very bizarre, and I think, like I said, if you'd broken this out into a 2-film thing where the nun demon becomes a recurring villain for this third film,
yes,
you could have built up to that and have it be really cool. That
would have been much better.
This just seems like you're rushing to the conclusion.
I swore Ed was going to die. I swore it. I'm just like, yeah, he's out. He's out, man.
I feel like that would have been interesting, but the two work so well on film together that you couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. I don't think it'd be doable.
Like I love seeing the two of them on film, but having it end with Ed's death and then coming back in the third movie to see Lorraine like changed and like desperately trying to track down the demon that killed her husband, like that would be an interesting character arc, because like now Lorraine is a single mother who's also a clairvoyant, but she also needs to banish this demon because of what it took from her, and she needs to save another family because she failed to save the family beforehand. Like that would be an interesting story. But
I mean, you're taking this down like Revenge. You're not. You're taking this down like Empire Strikes Back levels here, man.
I mean, I'm just saying, like if they weren't so hell bent on keeping it contained in this one movie, this would have been a great 2-part like storyline.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree at all. I just think that part of it also is they're trying to keep to the quote-unquote true events of the film.
Right, also the true events. You're right. You're right.
So they can't bend things too much, which is unfortunate because they could do a lot more with it. They could. Do you want to see the Warrens take on Amityville? Why or why not?
Well, I mean, Amityville would eventually... Amityville would be their... would be the prequel, essentially, because it would be talking about the one really bad exorcism that Lorraine did, or that Lorraine was a part of,
yep.
And she shot herself away. So I have not seen the Amityville horror, or the the movies.
There's several different ones, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen any of them, so I think it might be interesting. I think that's viable, but I also don't know how eager they are to jump back to that well, since, like you said, so many movies have been done about it, or do they want to pick a different one where they actually can have a little more artistic license to go nuts?
Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Amityville, but I agree that I think there's a lot of other smaller hauntings they've probably done that are more interesting, yeah, and that haven't been covered as much, so I'd be down for those more. But I'm not going to say no to Amityville if it ever comes up. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, she did say that like this is as close to hell as I ever want to get. I was just like, so that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep.
I mean, you haven't been in 2020 yet, so just give it time.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, how does James Wan balance the horror with the humor of this film?
I mean, so yeah, there's definitely more humor in this film, and I definitely liked it. I think that the film isn't scary enough for the level of horror of humor that's in it.
So you think it's like too much humor?
Well, it's not that I think the humor is too much. I think it's not balanced well for the level of scary that it is.
Okay.
If you had this amount of humor in the first movie, I feel like that would be perfect. Because the first movie was fucking terrifying, so having enough humor to kind of offset that would give you a reprieve, as opposed to just constantly amping you up.
A little bit of breathing room, okay.
Yeah, just a little bit of breathing room. Whereas I feel like this movie might have a little too much breathing room. Again, it works great for me because I don't like being scared, so I was just able to focus more on the story and like get through the smaller amount of jump scares. But if you're looking for a perfect blend, I feel like this was leaning a little too heavy to the humor side.
Okay. Got the crap. What was the one Marvel film you said had too much humor in it?
Guardians. Was Guardians 2. It's Guardians 2.
I thought Doctor Strange said that had the issue with it too. Maybe a little bit. Yeah. The Conjuring 2 is the Doctor Strange of the Conjuring universe. There we go. Let's see. Well, we can't say it's Guardians of the Galaxy because Guardians of the Galaxy is all humor. It's the intent. It's the intended purpose. Okay. Let's see. Where am I at here? Do you think there's ever been any legitimate hauntings in the history of mankind? Why or why not?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And we touched a bit on this last week, but I do believe in the existence of the afterlife, and I absolutely know that there's stuff in the universe that nobody knows about. So the possibility of there being malevolent forces, ghosts, spirits, demons that can do that. I definitely think it is possible for that to happen. And I think too many people have experienced the unexplicable, sorry. So I'm more than willing to believe that it's definitely happened in the past and may still be happening today. I couldn't tell you which ones were real and which ones weren't, but I definitely think they're not all made up.
I agree. I think that there's definitely been some that have probably been made up or exaggerated to some extent, but I'd like to believe that in most cases you hear about, there's some legitimacy to them. Again, I've watched Ghost Adventures and stuff like that before, and I know that sounds crazy to say, but you see some of the stuff, the stories people talk about. You see the events that take place, and while the hunters themselves on the show may be a little ridiculous and a little bit over exaggerated at times, I think the stories you hear from the people who live in those places and experience this stuff on a regular basis, I think there's more legitimacy to that. I think there's definitely something going on that probably isn't going to be explained by a few toys like an Xbox Kinect camera and stuff like that.
Or a fucking Steam box.
Well, no. So I don't know if you knew about this, Ryan, but ever since the Kinect came out, a lot of paranormal investigators, that's the word I was thinking, investigators, a lot of them actually have been using that to help track ghosts, because it helps catch movement and heat and all that stuff.
Ah.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of reported success with it. But, I don't know, there's something about using all that technology and everything that makes me think that it's not quite gonna get what you want out of the ghost hunting experience. I think there's a bit more supernatural elements to it that need to be sussed out, and I don't know. It's hard for me to really pin down, but I think something's going on. It's just hard to really pin down what until you experience it yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
So Ryan, we have seen 2 Conjuring films, and a third one will be out next week for you guys if the schedule holds out. 2020's been weird.
If Corona hasn't killed us all.
What do you want to see most in next week's Conjuring 3? The Devil Made Me Do It. I want to see a devil, obviously.
Can Vera Farmiga be my answer? Because I really like seeing her.
I mean, I'm all about that Patrick Wilson. Ocean Master? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard his Elvis impression? Ugh, swoon.
It was pretty good, actually.
It was pretty good.
No lie, I'm pretty sure Country chooses his demo tape for an Elvis biopic.
Yep. Hey, I think he'd be good.
Yeah.
I think he'd be good.
Dude, give it like 2 more years, we'll get an Elvis biopic, and he's playing the main lead.
You heard it here first, y'all. He called it.
So for Conjuring 3... So, I'm assuming it's the final one. I think if they're operating on trilogy rules, let's assume it's the final one. There could be more, but we'll say it's the final one. I want to see a case that changes the characters. Because Ed and Lorraine have been mostly consistent throughout the series. The only change we really had in it is just losing faith and gaining it back. And various circumstances allowed that to happen. But for the most part, they've been fairly static as characters. So I'd like to see something drastically change that forces them to really have an arc in this last film. I don't know what, but I would like to see something.
Yeah, I can feel that. They definitely flirted with it with the idea of Ed dying in this one. So yeah, if they're gonna pull the trigger on it, like I could see that.
Yeah. Aside from that, though, I mean, more ghost shenanigans. Don't pull a third act like this one again, because that was very I don't know.
Yeah, give us a demonic antagonist that like you like can know about and actually fight throughout the movie rather than just the last 10 minutes.
Ooh, Pyramid Head, that'd be fun.
Also, yeah. Also, like, and I forgot to bring it up in last week's one, but the concept of the witch being able to jump to Ed and Lorraine's daughter because she left the locket and it was linked. That was really good. That was really, really good. I really appreciated that.
I like they involved the daughter a bit in the first one. I'm a little disappointed that she was just absent for the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does make a reappearance in Annabelle. Fuck, I don't remember which one. There's 3 of them. I think it's the third one, but they don't go by numbers. They have weird subtitles. So, there's the third Annabelle movie I think she's in, and it actually takes place in the Warren house. So,
Really?
yeah. I'm trying to remember what happens, but basically Annabelle gets out of her cage.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so things get pretty wild. But yeah. Aside from that, yeah, I don't really have any specifics. This series has been trucking along pretty good. I'm a little concerned because I know the third one's not directed by James Wan.
Yeah, that's a little concerning.
But I'm hoping the next guy can emulate some of his stuff or bring something very good to the table. I mean, don't bring someone who's a schmuck. Bring someone who knows what they're doing. Last question, Ryan. We have now seen 2 Conjuring films. What is your interest in exploring the rest of the Conjuring universe spin-off films?
Man, none.
The Nun? We could do The Nun.
No. God damn it. Now, I will be honest. Allegra loves that shit, and she would very much like us to watch more of those, if not just making me watch them. So, I don't want to, but I see it in my future. It's like a demonic premonition of me being scared.
Yeah,
like I can see it coming.
I feel that, brother. I feel that one. Well, for those who are still listening, I hope you are. You can follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook. You can also reach out to us on various platforms of choice, including email. Ryan, if they want to email us questions, concerns, or tell us if they want to see more Conjuring Universe films, where can they email us at?
They can email us at Aaron doing ridiculous British sayings at excuse me. Sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
Well, Governor, what's all that about?
Oi, mate.
Fish and
Stop.
chips. I'm British.
God damn it.
Final thoughts where we rank the film from platinum to trash, all the colors in between. For the horror movies, obviously, we do buckets of blood. Ryan, is this a bucket or a fuck it?
Like we said, despite the slightly rushed and contrived ending, I think as a whole, the movie's much better paced. Fear Farmiga is always a pass for me. So I will go ahead and give it a bucket. I do think narratively it's better done than the original, but I do think the original was just a better movie in general.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like I would say I would probably give The Conjuring a silver and this one a high bronze, but they're still good. Like I still enjoyed them.
I'm thinking the same thing actually. Like I'll still give it the bucket of blood because I think it's still fun. I think it's still fun to check out. But I do agree this is a lesser film in just enough ways where it's not quite to the same level. I'm anxious to see how the third one goes. But Ryan, next week they'll be hearing us talk about Conjuring 3. Ryan, you and I are going to take a trip back in time. We're going to go to one of the classic films of horror That's right. We are going to get our spook on in the Overlook Hotel with, what year was that one? 1970-something's The Shinin.
Oh, yeah.
You excited?
Good old boy Jack.
And then we're going to follow that up with a patron-exclusive Dr. Sleep.
This will be the first time I've seen that one, too, so it'll be real fun.
Which I'm very excited for you to check out, because it was a blast for me. I had so much fun going back to it again.
Nice.
I don't typically rewatch films that quick back-to-back, because I think we saw it when it came out last year. But, it was definitely worth going back to. A lot of fun. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.